This is episode 4 of I'm a Secret Rootree. We have been plugging away, getting as much information as we can collect in the spiraling net that is these extramarital affairs. And it is pretty overwhelming. I have not locked anybody in yet, and I'm thinking maybe I should. I also just now was thinking maybe it's possible that this is also where the Brazilian connection could be. I'm really focusing on the golden hair bit and running with it, and I think I need to not do that because I feel like I need to learn a lesson from Angelica Morden. Because how long did I just make the bold assumption that, you know, the problem child was going to be redheaded? I still want to keep that in the back of my mind, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to lock in some people. And maybe see what information we can figure out from there. We know for a fact this is Guy Hudson, and he was the president. And he was the third one, because we know that the next two were, well, I mean, literally, we've already locked this in. We know that. We know that this guy is Felix Fellows and that he's a musician. And we know that both of these kids are chefs. So we can lock in 4 very easily. And then we can see what happens in the kind of meta-narrative. Alternatively, we could lock in these 2 gents and choose to wait to do like these 2. And instead lock in these 4. Because these 2 are really easy. Like, we basically have 6 confirmed people at this point, and we're like, I first of all don't think that this is true. She probably has a different job since then. And I'm still not convinced about these portraits. I keep going back and forth with this, but whatever. But we could certainly lock in the fact that these 2 are these individuals. And I've been thinking, you know, where we could fit in Sonia and her son. Ow, I just hit myself in the face. And I don't know where quite yet. There's just a lot happening here. We've got so much information. We've got a fuck ton of notes. And it's all extremely difficult to figure out. She was a child bride married in 1973. So that means she was born in 1958. So if she is, like, she's clearly on this half of the timeline. But I don't know where. I don't know where she fits in. She's either, like, here. Well, no. We know her husband. So the most likely option is, like, this portion. But I don't know. All right. I think what we'll do is we're going to lock in some people. So, Miracle. That's unexpected. What does that mean? Okay. Well, that's not what I expected to have happen. Huh. How else does this work out? I don't even know why that isn't true. Because why wouldn't it be this? Why wouldn't it be the same occupations? Because they have a different job now? Felix is still a musician. I mean, I guess I can put these two guys as chefs. So I have somebody wrong. My guess is that it's Miracle then. Okay, no, it's not. Who else did I have? Oh, Felix. Ooh, yeah. Is it Sam?
Has Clark reached out to you? Well, let me give you a short history lesson about the last few months of my life. 3 different people contacted me, claiming that somewhere in their history, they might be Roottrees. First, that young man, the rapper. I ignored that one. He seemed dubious. But then I saw the news. I felt terrible, so I began helping the others. Because my doubts with Felix were so misfounded, I ended up putting too much faith in the second person that approached me. I went to the media prematurely. I admit my mistake there. But the third person who contacted me also had a credible case. Before I could help, the company got to them somehow.
And this is Jane Doe, I think.
The fact that the family silenced them doesn't seem to fill me with hope when it comes to Clark's intentions. But you're making progress based on the leads he gave you. It's really hard for me to get a read on him. I'll let you handle it. I've sent you the case I've been working on, and some company records I managed to track down.
Mary Beth Clementine.
The records are quite dense, but hopefully they're useful. Good luck.
Interesting. Okay, so honestly, this kind of is making me think that Felix isn't here and that this is not the right thing. I guess this is not, but hold on. I'm so confused. I guess this isn't Felix? I guess this is somebody else? What does that fucking mean? Sorry, I'm like clicking everywhere but where I want to. Five Ps is the only star. 5 Ps is the only notable person on the updated tree. I guess he's not a musician anymore? This is so confusing. But we did get these 4. All right, so let's look at the new evidence that we just got. We got a lot. Company records, Regina Clementine email, Mary Beth Clementine. This is curious. This photo was given to you by Sam Madsen. A woman named Regina Clementine came to her and claimed that her husband had confessed that he thinks he's a Roottrie. The details of the case can be found in your evidence. Stuart is the older boy wearing a vest. The woman in the photo is Mary Beth Clementine, a singer who may have had an affair with Miracle Roottrie. Any info that we can see? Can't see his hand. And that is fine because... She's got her wedding ring on. So she's married in this picture. So it's not Clementine, I guess. So I don't know what Christine's last name is. What apple? Is there like a kind of apple? Smith, or no. Smith? Isn't Granny Smith? I guess we don't know her last name. We did get him locked in. We didn't get any other extra information wrong, right? This is so confusing to me. What else could I have put him as? I don't know. Maybe Felix Fellows isn't his actual name? Oh, I don't know. It's very confusing. All right, let's keep looking at the evidence. Let's look at the email then. Genealogy Genie, that's us. 6 pieces at Prodigy US. This is Chris's company. This is all the information I have about Regina Clementine, niece Salazar. Okay. Oi. Clementine. Regina Clementine, niece Salazar, was married to Stuart Clementine. Apparently, from New Orleans, Louisiana, and her husband, Stuart Clementine. She wrote me months ago. Apparently, the Roottrees lawyers went after her since then. By the time I received her letter and called her, she couldn't tell me, or she told me she couldn't cooperate anymore. Her husband, who is a police officer, okay, Stuart is a police officer. Should be able to get his picture then. Told her he thought he might be a Roottrie, but he's estranged from his family and didn't want to pursue it because he had no proof. She wrote to me behind his back. Normally I wouldn't be so sure, but she had some pretty credible facts. Some of it I've been able to confirm. Stuart's mother was Mary Beth Clementine. His mother was Mary Beth Clementine. Well-known singer in the 30s to 50s. You can look her up online. She was a pretty big proponent of adoption. I know for a fact that she came to Butler County a few times. I remember her from when I was younger, and Regina said that Stuart told her that they always seemed to spend a lot of time at Miracle Church. She sent me a photo to prove that she's who she says she is. I've attached it to this email. Please consider saving a tree and not printing this email. Oh, sorry. Did we? Surely we did this. I guess we didn't look this up, but 6 Pieces Unwrapping America's Sweetest Family by Sam Madsen was released in early 1999, perhaps assisted by the still relatively recent plane crash. Shot to the top of the charts, reviews were mixed, and its time on the bestseller list was limited to only 2 months. Most reviewers agreed that the core of the book, about Samantha's fathers and the struggles they faced, was compelling, and that the takedown of the hypocrisy of Elias Roottrie was deserved. However, many took umbrage with the timing of the release and the tone of the book, which seemed vindictive. The fall from the book led to the Roottrie company scrambling to release a statement, and due to a conflict of leadership, famously released multiple conflicting official statements over 3 days. This confusing move was referenced in popular culture due to a late-night sketch about indecisionitis. But more traditional analysts have been calling it the Roottrie Rift. Indecisionitis was a disease coined by a popular... I can't do this, man. I've got other things we got to do. We'll go back to this. Where did I put this? Save note. Searches. Indecisionists. We did manage to do that. I will come back to this. There's just too much right now. We didn't find anything about ourselves. We didn't do our what is that? Ego searching? All right, this one. Oh boy. Okay. Let's log in. Big stretch. Fuck, I'm out of coffee. You were given some partial staff records to cross-reference by Sam Madsen. These records are based on an old tax mailing information and only detail the employees that work directly for Roottree or in their corporate office. The many laborers on their farms and in their factories are not listed. You're not sure how helpful it will be, except for cross-referencing Guy's secretaries and visits overseas. Spider-searching people just because they are listed in these books will likely be very time-consuming and a waste of your time. Okay. Leadership. President, Zach Morden. Special Manager, Ernest Madsen Jr. Office staff, Edward Roottree, Lloyd Carpenter, Carl Monroe, Elizabeth Cravensworth. Okay. I feel like this has to be Elizabeth Cravensworth. She was a secretary. Apparently he's not a fucking musician. Or his name isn't Felix or something. He could go by a completely different name. But I'm going to say that this is Elizabeth Cravensworth. Okay. Product management. Eli C. Roottree, Fred Cross, Albert Cross, Douglas Rosenberg. Secretaries. Joanna Robertson. Okay. Fuck. Oh yeah, I forgot about this part. He had a secretary who was the daughter of someone named Elizabeth. Elizabeth's daughter met a caterer. His mother was Joanna, Zach Morden's secretary. So that I don't think is true. Joanna. Maiden name was Robertson. Beth Knox. Elizabeth Farrow. Major expenses, none. Okay. Elizabeth Farrow is the mother of Joanna. But Joanna remarried. Fuck. Maybe... Oh, man. Maybe this is... Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It's entirely possible that this is not this guy's wife, you know? All right, let's keep reading the evidence. My brain is like frying. I might have to I've been playing this game for nearly like 5 hours today. I gotta rein it in. Maybe take a break and give myself some time to think. Only one piece of evidence though. That's crazy to me. What does that even fucking mean? Oh, okay. It's one on this page. I was like, how is that possible? In 1977, it was announced that Zach would be retiring and Guy would be taking over at the start of 1978. They had a retirement party in November before spending the final month working on transition. During 1976 to 1977, the following changes took place. Guy Hudson has replaced Ernest Madsen Jr. as special management. Patrick Decker was hired. Eli C. Roottree is no longer employed by Roottree. Ernest Madsen Jr. is now listed under project management. Secretaries. Christine Farrow was hired. Joanna Robertson is no longer listed among the secretaries, but a Joanna Fellows has been added to the list. Okay, So Christine Farrow was... He had a secretary who was the daughter of named somebody named Elizabeth. Where does Christine fit in? Oh, Christine Farrow. So this is Christine Farrow. So this is Joanna. Why did I think Elizabeth Cravensworth was? Oh, I think I got confused about this. He had a secretary who was the daughter of someone named Elizabeth. Elizabeth's daughter met a caterer from Antonelli's. So Elizabeth had a daughter named Christine Farrow. Why do I think that? No, Elizabeth had a daughter. Elizabeth's daughter. He had a secretary who was the daughter of someone named Elizabeth. Yes, okay. This is why I'm getting myself confused. Joanna Robertson is no longer listed among the secretaries, but a Joanna Fellows has been added to the list. And then she's fired. So this is not her. That is Joanna Robertson. Okay. I don't know why this isn't it, but I'm going to put him as a chef now. Christine Farrow was hired. And this is another secretary. I'm thinking that Christine Farrow is the daughter of Elizabeth. And this is her. This is who she is. So I just confused myself. Ugh, fucking goddamn it. Stop it. Got too many things up here. Why can't I fucking move this? Pissing me off. Okay. Christine Farrow is no... Okay, yes. Okay. So, Christine Garland, this is absolutely her. We just confused ourselves for a little bit. Beth Knox are no longer employed by Roottree. Okay. Beth Knox was another secretary, but not for whom we don't know. She was here. John Miller is no longer employed by Roottree. Gwyneth Madsen was hired. This is Sam's daughter. Beth Knox 50-year work anniversary bonus, $50,000. Oh, this is Beth. This is her. Oh. Okay. Sure. So Beth Knox has been on the payroll since 1975. In 1976, 1 year later, she's been working there for 50 years. Zach Morton's retirement party. Oh, he just retires. Right. This is kind of weird then, right? Because she gets fired from her secretarial position before he actually retires. So this may be Christine. Because if this is the picture of the retirement party... Oh. Joanna is already fired by this point. Christine Farrow is no longer listed among the secretaries, but a Christine Garland has been hired. But she's not removed. So, okay. So Joanna Miller is already working for them here as Joanna Robertson. So I don't think that's her. I mean, we could put secretary, because if this timeline is, if this picture is of the retirement party, then this is after Joanna has been fired. So it could be that this is a picture of her, and that due to the timeline that we're establishing in the corporate documents, she would have already been fired by then. Okay. Guy Hudson took over. This began a particularly volatile period in the company's staffing. Many travel expenses were listed, and Guy began traveling to develop new 5-piece flavors. The following changes were recorded. Guy Hudson replaces Zach. Edward Roottree, Elizabeth Cravensworth, and Lloyd Carpenter are no longer employed by Roottree. Elizabeth Cravensworth was a secretary, not a secretary, office staff? Office staff. Yeah. Lloyd Carpenter are no longer employed by Roottrees. Raffer Tunes is now listed as office staff. Albert Cross and Fred Cross are no longer employed by Roottrees. Christine Garland is no longer working for Roottrees. This is when she elopes with her husband after getting pregnant. Beatrice Watts and Corianne Schwartz were hired. Juliet McCullen and Doris Mays are no longer employed. Lisa Lewis and Valerie Ewing were hired. Thomas Green, Michael Crane, Elizabeth Farrow, and Jack Keating are no longer employed by Roottrees. Yeah, so Elizabeth Farrow has the daughter, which is why I think this is Christine Farrow. I don't know why Apple is a pun, though. Sistine Apple? Emily Sandfield and Sam Cattrall are hired. Robert Logan is no longer employed by Roottrees. William Sims is hired. Services interpreter. Susan Ford was hired under a special category that existed for only 1 year. Residential office refurbishment. 5 pieces flavor development caviar. Edward Roottree retirement party. Christmas tree bash. New Year's Eve ball. Travel expenses to Australia, China, France, Brazil. 5 pieces flavor development of butterscotch. Continued development of caviar. 4th of July spectacular. New Year's Eve ball, 1979. Okay, those are some things that we need to look up. God, there's so much here. The volatility continued. Many new employees didn't tend to stick around very long. The following changes are recorded. Terry O'Connor was hired. Susan Ford has moved to office staff. Douglas Rosenberg is no longer employed. Edward Morrison and Robert Andrews were hired. Edward Morrison is no longer employed. Corianne Schwartz and Beatrice Watts are no longer employed. Lydia Lewis and Angela Ingram are hired. Lisa Lewis and Valerie Ewing are no longer employed. Catherine Garrett was hired. William Sams is no longer employed. Emily Seinfeld is no longer employed, but an Emily Barnes is now listed. Gwyneth Madsen is no longer employed, but Gwyneth Cattrall is now listed. Susan Ford no longer works in this department. Strawberry, this is the Chinese development, I'm imagining. more parties. Grand Dwarf Dove donation. Okay, that's suspicious. Guy Hudson died in May of 1982, so the first few months of that year continued along the same pattern they had been. Things quickly changed when Ernie took over. Most of the extraneous expenses ended, and all of the secretaries, most handpicked by Guy Hudson, were let go. Sam Madsen left Roottrees in 1984, so this is the last set of books you have access to. Okay. I'm just kind of scrolling. Lots of women are fired. No secretaries are directly employed by Roottrees. Work time temp. Canceled after 5 months. 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 A significantly less extravagant ball. Fred Gleason 50-year work anniversary. Root clothing reimbursement. $1 million? What? I guess this is the money that they gave to Ernie, maybe? I'm not sure about that. God, my brain. It's so fried. All right. So, I think we have so much to work with right now. And still some really confusing paths that we have taken. I'm curious about Beth Knox, so I kind of want to go here next. Let's see if we can look up Beth Knox. I'm not surprised. Nothing relevant. Nothing relevant. I mean, we're not going to find anything relevant about her, are we? Let's look at our info here. So Beth Knox 50-year work anniversary bonus. Could also look up this. No. No. Doris May, Beth Knox, Joanna Robertson. There's something here, too. And I'm guessing that it has to do with Beth Knox. Looking up random names isn't going to help. Spider searching people just because they're listed in these books will be very time-consuming and a waste of your time. So we don't want to just start searching people. They held a retirement party in November before spending the final month working on the transition. We could look up Christina Farrow. Have we looked up Joanna Robertson? Have we looked up Joanna Fellows, actually? No. And again, this probably isn't a good idea. Probably this is to cross-reference information. It's not to look up people. But Beth Knox seems pretty likely. So we have some things to look up. Oh, I thought it was 75,000. So it is the same every year. Susan Ford, interpreter, is interesting. Maybe we can do Business Watch Susan Ward. No. She was an interpreter that only existed for 1 year. Watermelon. Strawberry, watermelon, butterscotch, caviar. What if these are the names of all of the women that he's slept with? Well, there's not a J, is there? That would be fucked up. Okay. What else have I discovered? We haven't gone down this path, which we absolutely can. So this is probably her husband. This is her. This is Mary Beth Clementine. Well, Clementine wasn't her original last name, right? This guy's name was. Let's look back at this. Yeah, Salazar. I guess a musician. And her husband's name was... We wrote this down. Did I put it in Miracle? No. I put it in Clementine. Regina Clementine. Wait, shit. His mother... was... So, Regina Clementine... So... All right, so we don't know Mary Beth's last name. We know a Regina Clementine, who is one of these two. And Stuart Clementine, we don't know if had any children. He's estranged from his family and didn't want to pursue it because he had no proof. Okay. All right. So let's look up Stuart Clementine and see if we can get a picture of him. Clementine isn't that popular of a last name, and you managed to find a Stuart Clementine listed as one of many names on an emergency service website in New Orleans. Seems he's a police officer. He has no web presence. They don't have a picture of him? Okay. Let me look at this again. Hold on. You managed to find listed names of emergency service website in New Orleans. New Orleans Police Department. New Orleans Police. Fuck. All right, well, let's not pursue that then. Mary Beth Clementine. Mary Beth Clementine was a singer most popular in the years between 1942 and 1949. She traveled around the country performing at churches. Her repertoire was a mix of religious and popular songs, and although she recorded a few records, they seemed lost to time. The ones you find mentioned were a cover of He's Got the Whole World in His Hands, released under the label New Edison. Okay, let's save this. One thing Mary Beth was known for was her adoptions. There's no indication that she adopted anybody, though. Oh. Because she had them in an extramarital affair. Duh. That's why. So that's the smoke screen. I understand. She adopted two children in 1940s, Stuart and Mark. Okay. We learned something about which is which, right? Stuart's mother... Right, so Stuart... Hold on. I don't know. Not this one. This one. Stuart is the older boy. Okay. So this is Stuart. And then this is Clark. Stuart... Wait, what? Oh, I spelled it wrong. Stuart. Clementine. He's a police officer, and his wife is Regina. Salazar. And then this is... Where was it? What was I looking at? Oh, it was a search, but... Here we go. Mark. So Mark... Clementine. He's a police officer. We don't know what Mark has done yet. We don't know Mary Beth's husband yet, but we're gonna probably shortly learn about this. She also spoke as an advocate for the benefits of adoption in front of the United States Congress in 1949. We were convening to debate and discuss the then recent first adoption of an African-American child to a white family in the United States. She was specifically there to detail her experience going through the system to adopt Stuart. Her other son was adopted later, and according to a single line on an adoption site, under unusual circumstances. In 1959, it surfaced that Mary Beth had been twice divorced, both times to her manager, Sterling. Sterling Clementine. This ended her career with the religious audience she'd been catering to, and while she performed occasionally since then, she mostly faded into obscurity. Mary Beth passed away in 1994 at the age of 76 of a stroke. So we don't know her maiden name. But let's look up Mary Beth Clementine in Silver Screen Magazine. Or no, Modern Music Monthly? Mary Beth Clementine was reviewed and advertised many times in Modern Music Monthly, but the most popular recording was the release of her cover of He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. It was released under the label New Edison. Modern Music Monthly had a very positive review of her cover, and the writer complimented her voice and the tone of her guitar. The review had nothing to say about Mary Beth herself, so it's not of much use to your investigation. There's also some other Mary Beth Clementine releases that appear over the ages. One of them was The Old Rugged Cross, which is the only song that was advertised but not reviewed. Okay. Known also for her performance of Old Rugged Cross. Was twice divorced from her manager, Sterling. Okay. Let's do New Edison. Music released under the label New Edison. We'll do that here first. It seems that New Edison Records and Modern Music Monthly had quite a lot of overlap. There are countless advertisements for various covers of popular songs, and they all start to blend together. When you scan the results for anything other than an advertisement, you do find a very brief blurb from when New Edison was sued by Edison Records. By the time the magazine had covered it, it seems like the lawsuit was settled out of court, and New Edison was destined to shut down. The owner, who went by Sterling Edison. Interesting. Said he'd likely create a new record company, but there's no evidence anywhere that he did, and that was the last mention of him in MMM. Edison Record. Edison Records was a large company with many different releases over the years. There are a ton of mentions in Modern Music Monthly. None of it is relevant. What about New Edison in Spider Search? New Edison was a small record company based in Los Angeles that existed for a few years in the 40s. It raced to release cover records of songs that were gaining in popularity. According to a website about the history of recorded sound, it was named after its founder, Sterling Edison. Its biggest claim to fame is being sued by the estate of Thomas Edison in Edison Records versus Edsel. You also find new references to New Edison and Mary Beth Clementine on sites about old records. One collector says that the Holy Grail is a re-release of the Old Rugged Cross, and says that the first edition was originally published before she legally changed her name. Excellent. Another site claims that the police had to be called to New Edison Records after its owner, Sterling Edison, got in a physical altercation in public, leading to a divorce. There are no cited sources or evidence, and the site's content seems user-submitted. There's an email address at the bottom of the phrase, send me your stories about old Hollywood and I'll add them to the page. Okay. It's the same result. Let's look up the Old Rugged Cross. The Old Rugged Cross is a popular hymn that has been covered by many, many artists. You won't find much relevant information about it online. Mary Beth Clementine released the Old Rugged Cross for New Edison and was advertised quite a few times. When it was first reviewed by the magazine, however, it listed the artist as Mary Beth Quaker. Okay. Cool. Got our next 4. Very good. But his name is not Sterling Edison, apparently. I guess it is Clementine? All right, so we were right about this being, like, now that we understood the timeline, we figured out that she actually is the blonde woman in this. We still don't know anything about Joanna Robertson. This is clearly not... Well, she was fired from being a secretary. And then she became a line cook, didn't she? So I guess she's a chef now, right? Didn't we learn that? I wanna confirm this. Where would that have been? Would that have been in this one? Oh, movie rental store. So she was in retail. Right? Like, that's what we would say. I forgot about that part. Okay. Oh, yeah, we can put his pictures in now. All right. So we've now figured out that aspect. We need to do 4 more to get more info. We do have a lot of things that we can follow. So we need to figure out something about Mark Clementine. I am now thinking that the Brazilian connection is over here. Yeah, I mean, it could be here, though. Because he has similar hair color to Flavia. So I guess Sterling Clementine. I wonder why he changed his name. Oh, wait, no, it was Edsel, wasn't it? Yeah, it's Sterling Edsel. because the case was Edison Records versus Edsel. Edison Records was one of the first record labels named after Thomas Edison. The history of the company seems very unimportant, except for potentially a lawsuit that they filed in 1949, Edison Records versus Edsel. A website about lawsuits mentions this as a fun case because the name of the lawsuit was actually the biggest problem for the person being sued. Record producer who calls himself Edison was immediately outed as not actually being named Edison. Edsel was a German last name, and at the time of the founding of the company, the US was at war with Germany. The company's founder immediately settled to try and get the case to go away, but the damage was done. All right, so that was his actual last name. Let's look up Mark Clementine now. Mark Clementine. Crocodile Clementine is listed on a website titled The Infamy List. It's a massive list of criminals who are known for odd crimes. Although Mark's nickname would imply that he hails from Florida, a lot of others on the list also come from there, Australia, Mark is listed as being from Los Angeles. He was a pretty big entry and seems like a real piece of work. There's a very small note about him being the basket baby of 1950, but most everything else comes from his adulthood. He lost his job in 1975 as a pilot for a regional airline after he tried to board the wrong airline's plane. He was drunk. He was charged with trespassing and assault. In 1982, he was arrested for transporting smuggled animals over the Canadian-Mexican borders for an illegal reptile supplier in Los Angeles. He was apparently quite successful for the first 4 years, but was caught when he had to make an emergency landing in Portland after he was bitten on the foot by a crocodile, hence the nickname. Apparently, the Portland Telegraph is credited as having given him his nickname. His mugshot from this incident has been added to your photos. In 1993, he was released on parole, but his freedom didn't last long. He was arrested in 1994 in San Diego for violating it in an attempt to visit his daughter's graduation. He famously punched a principal, a man named Billy Sims. This incident received national press. Okay. I think we can get rid of some of this stuff. Well, whatever, I'll keep it. I guess he's a pilot? Basket baby of 1950. The infamy list. Crocodile Clementine. Where was it? It was the Portland Telegraph. And then Billy Sims in San Diego. All right, we've got a lot of things to look up. Let's do Basket Baby of 1950. A few sites about true stories focused on and around religion mentioned that in 1950, a gospel singer named Mary once found herself dealing with a real-life baby Moses situation. Apparently, she was a rather prominent supporter of the concept of adoption, and someone decided to test how much. They left a baby on her doorstep in a basket. According to the sites, she adopted him without question and raised him as her own son. Though it wasn't national news, in many circles he became known as the Basket Baby, and even went on tour with her as he grew up. None of the websites state who the woman or the baby were, likely to prevent people from looking into either of these people too closely. For context, you know that it's Mary Beth Clementine, who would later be shunned due to her personal life, and her son Mark, who would later be known as Crocodile Clementine. Okay. Crocodile Clementine. All right, so don't need to worry about that. I was wondering if we could learn more. Nope. Portland Telegraph. Portland Telegraph is your run-of-the-mill newspaper based out of Portland, Oregon. They have a website with a lot of dry statistics about how many subscribers they have, how many issues there have been, and awards they have won. The website doesn't appear to have any useful data, but we do have a new publication. Okay. We've learned a couple people. Do we know people in Portland? I feel like it's been brought up before. Let's look up. Fuck. I don't know. No. All right. So Billy Sims in News Time. News Time did a small piece about a fight between Sims and Crocodile, but tried to approach it from a different perspective. Their goal was to paint a picture of two men involved from others who knew them best. Not only did they manage to interview Sims' wife, Carla, as well as multiple staff members at the school, but they hunted down Colleen Webb, Mark's ex-wife. We're gonna say pilot. We also have a mugshot for him, which we can look at really quick. Multnomah County Corrections Division. He's blonde now, which is interesting. Fuck, I can't see this. Multnomah. Corrections. According to the section with Colleen, she and he met when he worked for an airline. She worked in an airport newsstand. He was a drinker and would often have wild mood swings. He was charged with assault of a fellow pilot in 1975 and lost his job. They divorced. At the time she was pregnant with their second daughter, she felt she needed to get out before things got worse. Mark and Colleen had 2 daughters. The second of whom was born around 1975. She left him and moved to San Diego to live with her sister and told her oldest that her dad had to fly planes for the army. She raised them both by herself, and although she never went through the trouble of changing their names legally, they used the web name so that nobody could connect them to her ex-husband. Okay. She raised them both herself, and although she never went through the trouble of changing their names legally, they used the web name so that nobody could connect them to her ex-husband. What that I think is implying is that both of her daughters have a last name of Clementine. Okay. Multnomah County Corrections. I would like to look that up. I mean, maybe we can find something else. Is there anything in the Butler County Times? The Butler County Times did report on Billy Sims, but the information seems redundant with the basic information you can find of the incident online. Portland Telegraph. Portland Telegraph had an article slightly longer than most about the Billy Sims incident. Mostly because the assaulter, Crocodile Clementine, had appeared in the paper before. Because of the somewhat comedic sensationalism of the events in question, and because their readers were already familiar with Mark Clementine, they filed it under a special banner called Croc Watch. It mentions that our good friend Croc Clementine was actually in attendance at the high school graduation because his daughter was walking the stage. He was apparently not allowed to attend. His ex-wife had a restraining order filed on behalf of her daughter, but did so anyway. It is unknown to the school staff, including Sims, at the time who he was, but a security guard recognized him, and that's when the trouble started. Clementine was approaching the side of the stage to try and avoid the guard when the exchange between him and Sims took place. The article finishes facetiously asking, what will Croc get up to next? Stay tuned for more Croc Watch. Unfortunately for your investigation, as far as you can tell, there are no more instances of Croc Watch. Okay. We don't have anything else. I mean, I doubt there's going to be anything here. Yeah. And Billy Sims is going to be too vague. Oh, well, or not. Billy Sims is the principal of Sandstone Canyon High School. Okay. One of Mark's daughters attended Sandstone Canyon High School. Oops. Let me turn insert on. Who had his 15 minutes of fame in 1994 when he was punched by Crocodile Clementine at a graduation ceremony. Pretty much every news organization from Trustworthy to Tabloid seemed to have their own take on the altercation. It wasn't the punch that captured the nation's attention, however. It was Billy Sims' matter-of-fact response to the threat and his comments afterwards, as heard in a now famous audio clip from someone who was recording the ceremony. Billy saw Mark hop onto the graduation stage and said, "Sir, you'll want to sit down or we'll have a problem." At that point, Crocodile reportedly sucker punched him in the face. Billy, apparently only slightly dazed, said, "All right, sir, I guess we'll have a problem." Clementine tried to throw another punch, but Sims anticipated it and performed a maneuver that spectators described as wrestling move mixed with a backward somersault, which immediately brought both men to the floor, with Sims straddling Clementine, keeping him neutralized. As security arrived, the recording captured somebody asking, "How did you do that?" And Sims' response was famously, "Trust me, I'm as surprised as anyone." Okay. Let's look up Sandstone Canyon High School. Sandstone Canyon High School is in San Diego. There's not much information about it, though it's mentioned a lot in articles about this Billy Sims incident. Okay. Nothing. I don't know why there would be anything here. All right. Ugh. Let's look up Multnomah Corrections. Did I spell this correctly? M-U-L-T-N-O-M-A-H. Multnomah County. It's a county in Portland, Oregon. Okay. So Multnomah County is in Portland, Oregon. Okay. Guess that's not particularly relevant. Don't know about either of her daughters because she intentionally kept their names from being searchable. Portland Telegraph, Butler County Times, News Time. I'd love to get a San Diego publication. San Diego. Just San Diego news. Fuck. So this is kind of a dead end at this point. Maybe we can look up Colleen Webb. No. Fuck. Okay. Obviously, they have 2 children, 2 daughters, one of whom graduated in 1994. Sandstone Canyon. Graduation, maybe. No. Okay. What else could we do? I want to read more about this. Mugshot. Visit his daughter's graduation. 1994. 1975 is when she was pregnant with their second child, right? That doesn't make sense, though. 10. You're 18 when you graduate, right? So it does check out, doesn't it? He's arrested in 1994. Portland Telegraph. Let's go back to history. Okay. Colleen Webb, Mark's ex-wife. He was a drinker. Lost his job. Their second daughter. Yeah, and so 18 years later would be 1993, 1994, basically. Told her oldest her dad had to fly planes for the army. Went to stay with her sister. Not only did they manage to interview Sim's wife, Carla. Okay, what if we look up Carla Sims? Carla Sims comes up very occasionally in a small percentage of articles about Billy Sims. Carla appears to be a nickname. Although you have no way of being sure, it seems to most often stands for Carlita. She doesn't seem related to your search in any way. Really? Fuck. I'm still searching anyway. Okay. Worked for an airline. Colleen Webb. Is there anything else that I can figure out from this? I feel like I've hit a dead end. I really need another, like, publication. Well, I think we've made some progress, which is exciting. And we might need to do a little bit of review of all of the information that we've gathered so far. Because we've hit a couple walls now. Specifically, I need to figure out how to find her 2 children. We've got a lead with the high school, but there's nothing I can really figure out about that. And definitely, I am thinking more and more that this might be where... I don't know. I was thinking maybe this is where... Sonya would go, but now I don't think so. I feel like Sonya might have to be over here. And she only had 1 child. And she was married to that manufacturer. If we are thinking about Sonya... where would she fit in this timeline? Because it's no longer here. I don't think. Which means that it has to be here. Right? Could this be Sonya? We know about... We have not investigated the Australian connection yet, so that might be what we need to do in order to learn a little bit more. This woman also eludes us. We don't know anything about her truly. And we don't know what Felix, his deal is. I'm guessing that we don't know his actual name. That is my assumption. And we can use some of the like conspiratorial knowledge that we've learned. We haven't learned anything about this side though, which is not great. I don't know what our big reveal is for that. We have a lot of things that still have relevant information that we can always review as well. Okay, but it has been another hour, and so I must bid you all adieu. Hopefully I'll make a little bit more progress. I'm definitely going to take a break and mull things over, ponder a bit before I resume, because there is a lot to untangle here. And it's a little... This is pretty overwhelming, but it's going okay. I think I'm doing all right. So far, I guess my big desire is to figure this out. We haven't even looked at the publication that Elias, we got this picture from. So maybe that's something we'll do next time. But I'd like to pursue this. We might have gotten this correct now, but we just need to figure out what his real name is. That's what I'm guessing. And maybe we can lock in Mark, her, Felix, and possibly even Beth. And that could be our next 4. But yes, you shall have to stay tuned and see what I get up to next. Thanks so very much for watching, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.